Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Williams, and welcome. Thanks for joining us this late afternoon as we head into early evening tonight at 6 o'clock on WPTV News Channel 5. I'll be taking a tour of the northern rim of Lake Okeechobee, and atop that, as we show you a map, sits the huge Okeechobee watershed and how those interact and what it means for the algae crisis that we've dealt with a number of times over the last many years and the potential concerns ongoing. That's all part of a conversation we're having with Dr. Paul Gray, Audubon Florida scientist, who's my guest right now. He'll be taking us on that tour. You'll see it tonight at 6 o'clock on WPTV. Peter Burke, our producer here behind the scenes, but keeping us on air here. And Peter, we thank you as always. Dr. Gray, I think we do have a map, and I'd like to put it up there. We've already seen toxic algae at certain segments of the lake over at the Pahokee Marina and the like. As we put that map up and talk about the genesis of this, we hear about it. And here fundamentally, as we look at the lake, for all of you at home and for you, Doctor, the concern is as you look to the east, of course, if the lake is too swollen, the Army Corps of Engineers could have, in the middle of rainy season, or if we get a hurricane, have to release water to the west and the east. To the east, of course, to the coast, into the St. Lucie estuary. That brings with it worries about algae. Already we've seen some bad algae blooms in the lake. The hope is they won't have to make those huge discharges. But again, nature will play a big role there. We concentrated our focus on the north end of the lake because above Lake Okeechobee is that huge Okeechobee watershed dotted by farms, by a number of agricultural interests, dairy farms, ranches, and the like. They use fertilizer, of course, and the phosphorus runoff going from north to south, north of the lake into the lake, is a superfood, a nutrient for these algae blooms. With that as sort of a preamble, Dr. Paul Gray, again, Audubon Florida scientist, knows this lake, has been studying it for 26 plus years. Take it away. Talk about the genesis of the concerns, why we're where we're at again, and what we need to start thinking about doing about it.
Hi, well, thank you, Michael. Yeah, you're exactly right. The problem that's going on in the lake starts in the watershed. And the watershed starts at the Orlando International Airport. Basically, that's the top of the watershed. It's 100 miles north of the lake. The watershed's 5 times as big as the lake. We had great big wet hurricanes in the 1940s. And basically, you could take a canoe from Orlando to Miami and not have any obstructions because it's so flooded. And we asked the Corps of Engineers, will you please drain our state? And they did. And they did a pretty good job of it. But now when we have big rainstorms and stuff, this huge watershed, all the water lands in it, and in a good old days, it would have taken 6 months for it to get to the lake. Now it does it in 1 month, and it makes the lake really, really deep. The Corps gets afraid of the safety of the dike. They have to dump the water to protect the dike. Of course, if it's got junk in it, like toxic algae, because of all the nutrients we put in the watershed, it goes to the estuary. So we've kind of we painted ourselves into a corner, kind of, and we need to restore that storage up in the watershed so the lake doesn't go up so fast and start that cascade of bad events.
Again, and Peter, if we can maybe roll some of the footage again at 6 o'clock, you'll see the piece that we did with Dr. Gray as we're out on the lake. To look at this beautiful vista, you'd say, wow, beautiful day. It's a postcard picture, but it belies a lot of problems as we look at some of the marshland. And one interesting fact, we think of the big open water of the lake as Dr. Gray shows us the algae. You'll hear him talk about that in our story tonight at 6, but we already saw algae blooms even on the north end. 1/3 of Lake Okeechobee is actually wetlands. Some of it pristine like this in the rain-fed marshes, but even they impacted by too much water at times, and water that can kill those plants, and they're a natural defense barrier against nutrients like the kind pouring into the lake. The bottom line as we look at this is one of the keys is we call it slowing the flow. It's about slowing the amount of water rushing from north to south into the lake. Talk about why that's important from nutrient loading to protect these marshes, to allow them to do their job, and ultimately to mitigate these toxic algae blooms and keep our water clean. Dr. Gray?
Right, Michael. Yeah, and as you said, 1/3 of the lake is marsh, and we saw that beautiful marsh, and that part doesn't get the algae blooms. But, after Hurricane Irma hit Florida, the lake went up 3 feet in 1 month, and it went clear up to 17 feet, which we think is pretty dangerous. We really don't want it to go above 15 feet. And so what we want to do is build storage features up in the watershed, whether it's a reservoir or we just restore wetlands and plug people's ditches and say when it rains, instead of the water running off, it'll just stay there and it won't hurt anything. And if we could slow the flow and catch that water, when Irma comes in, instead of going to 17, we could go to 16 or 15, which is much more manageable. And if you can slow that water down, then you have a chance to clean it before you put it in the lake. So here's a picture out on the edge of the marsh. You can see how wavy and all that is. The water quality is bad out there. And that's the, where the open water meets the marsh. But when you go back in the marsh, the water's beautiful and it's full of birds and life.
But even there, you need to slow the flow because, so you have two factors here. The water rushes in without being held north of the lake and allowed to be pulsed in slower amounts. You nutrient load the lake too quickly to fertilizer runoff, and that's a superfood that creates these algae. So that's number one. Too much water also can kill these marsh grasses, and you're defeating the purpose because when you kill the marsh grasses, you've killed one of the natural defense barriers that act as a sponge to suck up this nutrient load. So slowing the flow of water is vitally important north of the lake. We're already looking at reservoirs east, west, and south. Why haven't we seen more progress in all these years on those north? We've had plans. We've talked about it. Where are we, and why are we stuck where we are now?
Well, it's kind of politics, and also these projects are extraordinarily expensive. To store enough water to really make a difference, it costs billions of dollars, and some of the features you need to build take 10 years to build. But right now, we are building a big reservoir on the St. Lucie side to help catch water during wet events and protect them. We're building one on the Caloosahatchee. Actually, the Corps of Engineers in the Water Management District are building it on the Caloosahatchee side to catch water over there. We're working on a great big reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee in the Everglades agricultural area that when the lake starts to get too deep, we can try to run some water there rather than dump it wastefully. So the projects are underway. They're being built. They take a long time, but I'm glad, we're behind schedule, but I don't worry about when we get done. I worry about when we get started. And so we're started.
Amen to that. But we need the coverage. And by the way, if many of you go out and enjoy the fishing on the lake, enjoy just being on the lake with family. If you have questions, Stella writing in here. If any of you at home have questions, Lake Okeechobee is a huge resource for tourism. It's a huge resource for people to get out and recreate. People make their livelihoods along the lake. Many of you joining us right now may be in that group. And if you have a question for Dr. Paul Gray, please absolutely send it in.
And Mike, sorry to interrupt, but every time I talk about algae, the fishing guides get nervous because everybody thinks the lake's ruined. And actually that difference between the marsh and the open water, where there can be an algae bloom going on, but you can have just fabulous fishing back in the marsh. And so remember, that's a big lake, it's complicated, and it's not an all or none thing. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's an excellent point that it's not all or nothing, but we need to slow the flow of water to allow the marshes to remain vigorous and strong and act and take up some of that fertilizer and nutrient runoff. And we need also to give the lake a break. You had mentioned something that our viewers will hear in the story that you feel the lake could handle, and its marshlands up to about 100 tons of phosphorus a year, and could cope with that. But what are the numbers we've actually seen over the last many years?
Right. We think if the water that flows into the lake every year averages about 100 tons a year, that the lake would be healthy and not have these bad algae blooms. But we've been averaging about 500 tons, not 100. And in the year of Irma, we got 1,000. So we got a lot of cleanup in the watershed. And again, this slow the flow idea, the first thing you do is you slow down the water. And then once you do that, then you can run it through a treatment process to clean it. So when it goes in the lake, it goes in clean and not in a big glug like we do right now.
And talk about where we stand in terms of concerns this summer. We really are at the behest of nature here. The Army Corps of Engineers, if the lake gets too swollen from rainy season and or a tropical event, a hurricane or a tropical storm, they could end up with no choice but to release water. We're already seeing algae-laden water because we've had more phosphorus pouring in than it can handle over the last few years. As you look at some of the algae mess at the marinas there, we don't know how much of it may end up having to come east, and we've seen what that's done before.
Yeah, so last fall we had a never-ending wet season. The lake went clear up above 16 feet, which is way too deep. And when it gets that much water, it's that much nutrient. And so we were nervous that might spawn another super bloom, which we have seen this week. Now, how long it will last, we don't know. But also, when the lake got really deep in the fall, we haven't had enough time to lower it. So we're entering the wet season relatively deep. And if it starts off with a bang and a lot of water flows into the lake, the Corps is going to be back in that trap where they're worried about the dike and they can't afford to be environmentalists. They have to protect the dike from collapsing, and they might have to do big releases. And we, crossing our fingers, no, but it might, like you said, Mother Nature's in charge at this point.
Concerned are you?
I'm hoping for the best, preparing for the worst.
Really?
It's, hurricanes and tropical storms are kind of like a lottery event. If they hit us, we're in trouble, but if they miss us, we might be able to get by.
Dr. Gray, north of the lake, there are efforts by some of the ranch land and some of the farms to try and help keep water on the land so it can more slowly pour out of the watershed north to south into the big lake. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's a big watershed with big problems, but big opportunities. And so a lot of it is in ranch lands. It's cows and pastures and wetlands, and a lot of them have been drained. And so if we're going to spend money to build a reservoir, why can't we just pay some of these people to plug their ditches and hold the water on their property when it comes? It's a very simple thing to do, and we can start catching more water in the watershed, making it wetter, and making the water slow down on its way to the lake. So there's a lot of opportunity up there, and ranch lands actually are pretty good habitat for almost all the animals up here. So that's a win-win. Not only we help our water problems, but we help wildlife, and we also give landowners another source of income, so they can resist selling out to housing developments and strip malls and things like that.
Robert Adicott asks, is this caused by the sugar industry? Of course, most of that's south of the lake, but speak to that. There does tend to be a north-south agriculture versus lake environmental construct to a lot of the debates. But to Robert's question, sir.
Yeah, so right now, most of the nutrient problem in the lake flows in from the north, and that's not the citrus industry. But
He asked about sugar industry.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yeah, the sugar industry. But they sit between the lake and the Everglades, and we want to get the water from the lake back to the Everglades where it's needed and quit dumping it down the estuaries. And so having them right sitting where they sit, that is a barrier to. It's a difficulty we have to overcome, and whether it's sugar or corn or whatever, it's just people right in between where the water is in the lake and where we want to send it to the Everglades. So yeah, that's a challenge.
The ultimate answer is to slow the flow of water from north to south into the lake, give the lake a chance to absorb it, find ways to clean that water and send it in less quickly, allows the marshes to thrive. You don't drown the marshes. You allow the lake to thrive. Also sending the water south, a reservoir being built so you could perhaps, and that's still several years away from being done, but the reservoir south would allow to lessen the flows of water to the east and west as we begin to look at some of the pictures out on Lake Okeechobee. Ultimately, sending the water south, though, you get it in the reservoir, you clean it before it heads into the glades. You need all of that together. It's a big picture. No one part of this works without the other.
That's exactly right. Storage north, south, east, and west is the beginning, and then we got to clean that water when we take it out of storage, and we can have a healthy Florida and healthy estuaries and a healthy lake, but we've got to rebuild the system to get back to that.
Dr. Paul Gray, Audubon Florida scientist. Again, for those of you joining us tonight at 6 o'clock, you'll see the little big tour we took, and we have a piece of that for you tonight at 6 o'clock on WPTV News Channel 5 at 6. It's an enormously complicated topic with an enormously valuable ecosystem. Ultimately, the water we drink, the cleanliness of our water, all of it depends on the decisions being made, not only now when we're worried about toxic algae, but over the next 2, 4, 5, 10, 15 years, because this is our water source, or a chief one.
It's our future. It's water.
And I don't think sometimes we connect how much the lake matters as the heart of our water system. Talk about that. You'll speak about it eloquently in the story upcoming.
Yeah, well, and sending the water to the Everglades. The Everglades is the recharge for the Biscayne Aquifer, which is the drinking water for 1/3 of the people in Florida. So not only we're going to try to stop wasting this water in a harmful way to the estuaries, but we're going to send it to the Everglades where it'll restore the Everglades and protect the water supply for so many people. So this is, the proverbial win-win if we just stick with it and get all this stuff built.
Final thought, Doctor, as we get ready to head toward the 6 o'clock hour, you get out and speak to a lot of groups. You're scientist, educator, communicator, naturalist. What's the takeaway message you always want people to have as we look at the problems that people are concerned about, look at the potential, and look at what we need to do to move forward?
It's our future. I mean, if you think about Florida, we're famous for water. We're famous for birds, fishing, swimming, canoeing, kayaking, being at the beach. And we don't want a green toxic future in our water. It's bad for drinking water. It's bad for our tourism industry. We want to stay in a beautiful Florida. And so this is all about trying to protect that and rebuild it.
We'll continue to look at that. It goes long beyond just concerns, big as they are, about toxic algae. We'll be watching that over the summer. Dr. Paul Gray, Audubon Florida scientist. We'll see you on air tonight at 6 o'clock right here on WPTV News Channel 5. Thank you for being with us, and thanks to all of you for joining us. Good day.
Thank you.